I want to talk about some underreported news from Palestine and Israel from today and make some connections, draw a line between the headlines. And I'm going to divide it into different Palestinian communities, and I'm going to start with Palestinian citizens of Israel. This is a not well-known community, Palestinians who live inside of Israel with Israeli citizenship. I belong to this community. And so within the system of Israeli apartheid, where different Palestinian groups receive different bundles of rights based on where they live, where they were born, the Palestinian community within Israel, Palestinian citizens of Israel, are relatively privileged. They receive the largest bundle of rights. But this is, of course, relative. Compared to Jewish Israeli citizen, the remainder of the population, 80% of the population, around 80% is Jewish Israeli, and the remainder is, the other 20% is Palestinian citizens of Israel. So compared to the Jewish community, the Palestinian citizens of Israel are treated as second-class citizens. They face underfunding, structural discrimination, and other problems. One of them is rampant gun violence. And this problem of organized crime and gun violence is one that the state deliberately overlooks. Conviction rates in the Palestinian sector are much lower than conviction rates in the Jewish Israeli sector, so many perpetrators are not brought to justice. And so this problem is perpetuated because there's an atmosphere of impunity among these criminal gangs. Today, 2 Palestinians were killed in organized crime, gun violence related incidents in the north, in and near the city of Nazareth. And the total number of Palestinians killed in such incidents since the beginning of the year, this year, has risen to 126. I think last year it exceeded 200, approached 300. So it's a really serious problem. In the West Bank, yesterday there was a pogrom. There was a violent settler attack on the villages of Kufur Malik, and then later near the village of Taibe in the West Bank. And it resulted in 3 Palestinians killed. It's not clear, I think still it's not clear whether they died from settlers' fire or the Israeli military. Either way, the attack was conducted by Israeli settlers, and so ideologically motivated gangs of ultra-right-wing settlers. This is settlers with a capital S, talking about Israeli settlements in the West Bank, as opposed to the broader settler colonial Israeli context, yeah. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video explaining the difference between those two. But these gangs of settlers entered the village, and you can see here the videos. This is courtesy of B'Tselem.
حركوا السيارة يا شباب، حركوا السيارة كانوا بيطخوا علينا
They came in and they set fire to homes, and apparently there was gunfire too. And these attacks are happening under the watchful eye of the Israeli military. As I said in my last video, there's almost always a wink and a nod, and the military is there not doing anything about it and basically acting as security guards for these armed gangs of settlers as they rampage through these Palestinian villages. And these events are daily, right? So I highly recommend you follow WAFA, the Palestine news agency. They are very quick to report on these incidents. So just today, they call them colonists. Again, I call them settlers. Attack Palestinian vehicles southeast of Bethlehem. Settlers attack the town of Turmus Aya, set fire to Palestinian land near Ramallah. So these are daily occurrences. Also in the West Bank, today was there was a big raid in the West Bank, and the Israeli military raided and arrested many Palestinians in several cities. Here's the English report. Israeli forces detained 23 Palestinians in pre-dawn raids across the West Bank. And this is also related to the broader story here. Is yesterday the Palestinian Prisoner Society released a report saying that over the last 2 weeks, at least 600 Palestinians were placed under administrative detention. So administrative detention is another really big issue in Palestine, affecting all Palestinian communities between the river and the sea, where people are placed are detained without knowing why. Right, the charges are not public. They can't defend themselves because they don't know what they've been detained for. So it's basically a legal mechanism for kidnapping people and putting them in prison. And at least 600 over the last 2 weeks, and they're reporting 3,562 total number of administrative Palestinian detainees in Israeli prisons today, which is just wild. That number is just wild. And this is one of the ways, I think, one of the primary ways that Israel is able to stifle Palestinian resistance in the West Bank, is by sort of, we've heard about mowing the lawn in the Gazan context, coming in and just assassinating military leaderships. But in the West Bank, I think the tactic has been more these nighttime raids into homes. Anybody who's suspected of being a leader, a charismatic personality, is just taken and placed under administrative detention. And that way you're sort of decapitating any future Palestinian leadership that could lead a reinvigorated movement for Palestinian liberation and equal rights between the river and the sea. And also in the West Bank, we're seeing more restrictions on movement. So Israeli forces closing down a key sort of road in the Jordan Valley area, so the border area between the West Bank and Jordan. Lastly, if you've seen No Other Land, you know about Masafer Yatta, the South Hebron Hills community of Palestinians. And according to this report in 972 magazine, there's a new Israeli directive that is expediting the ethnic cleansing of this community. So this was written by Yuval Avraham and Bassel Adra, who are these co-creators of No Other Land, the Oscar-winning movie. And basically, this new order removes the last sort of legal barriers that the legal tools that Palestinians in these communities had to appeal the destruction of their homes. So all of the area in which where Masafer Yatta is, where these Palestinian communities lie, it was declared a closed military zone by Israel decades ago. That's how Israel justifies the ethnic cleansing of this area. But the residents were able to still submit building permit requests and then appeal those requests. These processes basically always result, even if they get all the way to the Supreme Court, result in the court rejecting the Palestinians' appeals, and their homes get demolished anyway. But that sort of mechanism of delay has been removed now based on this new military order under the guise of the war with Iran. They were saying there's this war, so we need to use this closed military zone to practice military drills or something. So this is going to facilitate and hasten the ethnic cleansing of these communities. Moving on to Gaza, this is a daily reality of violence. Every day, we're seeing dozens of Palestinians killed. It's hard to know what to say beyond that. This has to stop. Many of these Palestinians are killed in or at aid distribution centers. They're hungry, starving Palestinians who are driven into desperation and looking for food, even knowing full well that these so-called aid distribution centers are dangerous. Most of these Palestinians, it is emerging in the reporting, most are killed due to artillery and tank fire. So just indiscriminate violence, it's outrageous and it needs to stop. That's all I have to say about that. Moving into the Israeli front, I also wanted to mention one thing. Yesterday, Hamas, who's been nearly completely destroyed, but still maintains a core group of fighters and has moved to these sort of guerrilla operations, waiting for opportunities to strike, has found one, and a Hamas fighter put a bomb inside of an Israeli armored vehicle, killing seven Israeli soldiers. And I think that the Israel-Iran war, the timing was widely accredited as, not accredited, but it has been widely attributed to Netanyahu's desire to prolong his time in power. And he's facing two problems. On the one hand, he's facing attrition within Israeli society. And although Israeli society has broadly been supportive of Israel's actions against the Palestinians, they are much more sensitive to the growing number of Israeli soldiers who are killed in Gaza. So sadly, this isn't about. I'm not saying that Israelis are resisting the war because they have become concerned for Gaza's population. These Israelis exist, but they are a small minority. But within the mainstream, broader Israeli society is much more sensitive to the growing number of military casualties in the Gaza Strip. And there's also a morale problem within the Israeli military. The army forces that are stationed in Gaza, there are reports of them, of the morale becoming much lower. So this is something to look out for, the sort of growing pressure from within Israel to stop the war. I'm not saying that there's this movement that's ready to erupt, but I think that Netanyahu's adventure in Iran has also restored his prestige and has been able to rally Israelis around the flag. So there's a lot of qualifications here, but I do think that there has been a growing slow simmer of people who, even though they supported the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, are saying, it's time to stop this because our soldiers are fatigued and so on. The other thing I mentioned is Netanyahu's trial. Netanyahu is facing criminal charges for corruption charges. And the Gaza war, I think obviously, transparently, the Iran war too, are meant to serve the purpose of allowing him to continue postponing. He's a master of postponement, continue postponing and prolonging his criminal trial. And here we can see that Netanyahu's lawyer, as this report says, asked that his criminal trial be postponed, citing the war with Iran and, quote, other regional and global developments. So this is the Netanyahu playbook: postpone, delay. The war in Gaza he also can't stop, because if he does, his right-wing flank within his coalition will leave and his government will collapse. So not to say that the war in Gaza is entirely because of that. There are, I think, clear goals to ethnically cleanse Gaza that Netanyahu shares and agrees with. But this is part of the picture. He's facing corruption charges, a trial, possibly prison time, and he's facing a unstable coalition that he's trying to hold together. There's also reports that Trump has pressured Netanyahu in a phone call on Monday evening to move forward and accept or promote some kind of peace plan a la Abraham Accords, some kind of normalization deal between Israel and other countries in the region, including Syria and Saudi Arabia. This plan would supposedly end the war in 2 weeks, exile the Hamas leadership, transfer the civil administration of the Gaza Strip, the responsibility to administer the Strip, to other Arab countries, including Egypt and the United Arab Emirates. This is a kind of a fantasy. I don't think that Saudi Arabia and Syria are, even if their leaders want to warm up to Israel, I don't think they can. I think they're very much aware of the disdain that their and the awareness that their population has to what's going on in Gaza, and barring any very real concessions to the Palestinian people, and barring very real commitments, more than just promises, I don't think the normalization will occur, at least not publicly. So, but the reason why I'm highlighting this is because it does seem that Trump, if this report is real, this is the one report in Israel Hayom, so there's lots of caveats, but if this report is real, it does seem that Trump may be, again, not out of sympathy to Gazans, but he might be tired of the war in Gaza. And this provides an opportunity for us. So we know Trump's a fascist, we know he doesn't love Palestinians, he uses Palestinians as a slur, but he might be annoyed at Netanyahu, annoyed at watching Fox News and they keep talking about Gaza. He wants it to be over, and that does present an opportunity for pro-Palestine activists to push for this as a first step. We need a ceasefire. We can't continue seeing 90, 100 Palestinians killed every day in Gaza. It's related to this reminds me of the UK, France, Canada, Norway initiative to their sanctions against Israel's most extreme far-right ministers, Ben Gvir and Smotrich, a couple of weeks ago, a little bit before the war with Iran, and the news about them wanting to unilaterally recognize the Palestinian state, which have been thwarted by Trump. So again, I'm not saying Trump is a friend of the pro-Palestine movement. He's certainly not. But I do think that the global pressure campaign is yielding some results and is making leaders, these centrists, in Canada, the centrists in the UK and France, at least have to pay some lip service to the Palestinian movement. These are small wins, but I do think that they're meaningful. A couple of days ago, we saw the fact that the pressure campaign against the shipping giant Maersk had yielded some results. So we must continue, with that pressure. So as usual, the sources will be in the description. I'm going to try to do this sort of roundup of news on Tuesdays and Thursdays in video format, and I'll also post on my blog a detailed write-up of all of the week's news, including Arabic and Hebrew sources, for free on my blog, and I'll also post a link to that in the description. So do like and subscribe. It feels weird to say it, but do it because it does help the channel grow. Comment if you want me to talk about anything in particular. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.